Hallo und herzlich willkommen beim Filmfest München. Hello and a very warm welcome back to Filmfest München. It is my true pleasure to have this bunch of people here with me. It is a little bit of a tradition to talk about the American independent films at our festival, because they have a very long tradition, and I want to give a shout out to Ulla Rapp, who founded the section in the 80s. A big, big, big applause, our legend of a programmer. I want to introduce our gang up here really briefly, so let's start over there. Emily Robinson, the director of Ugly Cry. And then we have Pete O's, the director of ERUPCJA. Next to him, Edd Benda, the director of Chili Finger. I think I'm missing one here. Ramzi Bashour, the director of Hot Water.
Thank you.
And then Skinner Myers, the director of MOODSWING WHISKY. To be honest, I wanted to start with you guys just introducing your individual films a little bit, because I'm not sure that everyone saw all of them yet, and quite a few, well, at least one of them is celebrating a world premiere tonight. So I would say let's start with Skinner, because your film hasn't been screened to German audiences yet,
yes,
apart
right.
from a P&I screening.
So hello, thank you for being here. I'm Skinner Myers. I made a film called MOODSWING WHISKY. My lead actor, Niken Robinson, is back there.
Big shout out.
Shout out to Niken. It's very quickly, it's just an avant-garde horror thriller that we shot in Los Angeles last year, over 4 days. And it's about a man who has a media company, and he starts it to expose corruption, and then he becomes corrupt himself. And that's all I'll say, I think. You come check it out if you want.
Well, we are super thrilled that you trusted us with the world premiere, so you better all show up tonight for the screening and celebrate with us all. Ramzi, tell us a little bit about Hot Water.
Hot Water. My name is Ramzi Bashour. The film is Hot Water, or Heiße Wasser, I learned yesterday. It screened here last night in this room to a really great audience, and our international premiere, and plays again tonight at 9 p.m. at the HFF. It's a road movie about a mother and son who drive across the United States. We shot the film all across the United States, from Colorado to Santa Cruz. That was about, I mentioned in the Q&A yesterday, 2,500 kilometers, 5 weeks. And it's a comedy. It's a fun, weird movie that I wrote, directed, and I co-composed the music.
Also, guten Tag, meine Damen und Herren. Mein Name ist Edd Benda. Und mein Film ist Chili Finger mit Judy Greer, Sean Astin, Bryan Cranston und auch John Goodman. Und jetzt bin ich fertig mit meinem Deutsch, and we'll switch to English. So our film is a dark comedy about a woman who finds a human finger in a bowl of fast food chili.
We won't tell more.
Hello, I'm Pete O's. My film is called ERUPCJA. It is an international anti-romance that I filmed in Warsaw, Poland, about a British tourist traveling to Warsaw with her boyfriend who is going to propose, and she doesn't want to get proposed to. It stars Charlie XCX.
Ugly Cry, we filmed in Los Angeles, and we were lucky to have our international premiere in this room 2 nights ago. We have another screening tonight at 9 p.m. at the City 3. And it's sort of a cringe comedy psychological thriller that dances with body horror, about an actress who loses their dream role because they have an ugly cry, and they go to extreme measures to fix it and become perfect. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. So the idea behind this chat is a little bit, I get to spend quality time with all of you because I don't really get the chance to talk to you all as much as I would love to, because the American independent cinema is really dear to our festival, as I've already said, and I feel like I'm already friends with more than half of you. Now the family is growing with Edd and Ramzi, which is amazing, and I would just love to sort of like go back and have this living room atmosphere a little bit, and maybe Skinner, we can start with you because we actually met through a podcast.
Yes.
So let's go back to our podcast and
Absolutely.
what we chatted about there.
Yeah, that was during COVID. And I had a film called The Sleeping Negro that was making its way around the world. And Sebastian reached out to do this podcast. And it was Merari. It was me and Merari, I believe, right? And we were talking about the state of black cinema. And that was probably 5-6 years ago.
That was 2020.
2020, yeah,
right
6 years ago.
In the pandemic.
Right, yeah. And so that's how we kind of met and became friends. And then I was in Berlin. This is really funny. Maybe it's funny to me.
No, it's actually pretty funny. It's like, you know, when you meet people and you bump into them and you don't really know they're there, and then you're like, hi, I'm Julia. We met on a podcast.
I was at a hotel bar in Berlin during the Berlinale, and it was so crowded I was by the elevator door talking to some filmmaker, and then you walked in. You're like, what are you doing in Berlin? And I was like, I'm here with the film. And so it's been great to finally get to Munich. It's been a place I really wanted to come for a long time.
You're also a teacher at university and you teach film, so maybe you can tell us a little bit about sort of like, you know, what you teach and how you teach it and how you view sort of like the state of film in the US right now.
Okay, yes, thank you. I'm a professor at the University of Colorado Boulder, and after Munich, I'm going to Amsterdam, where I finally finished my doctorate at the University of Amsterdam. So next Friday, I get my long, big-ass diploma. It's like this. Thank you. And so I primarily focus on black radical cinema in Colorado, where I teach. And so what I try to help the students understand is that you don't need massive budgets to make films, and you need to greenlight yourself in a lot of ways. And also teach a concept of poor cinema, meaning that you use the resources you have at your disposal to make films that you want to make. And then I kind of walk them through the work that I've done, because I've never spent more than 6 days making a feature. And so we shoot them really quick. And so it gives them hope that, hey, I can actually make a film if I want to make it and not have to wait for millions of dollars. But yeah, we focus on indie cinema, black indie cinema, and trying to kind of craft a specific voice. And hopefully they have something to say and they want to use the medium of film to say that. And so I teach on films that usually don't get a lot of playtime, you know, in the curriculum.
Applause. Thanks so much for that, and it sounds very familiar to the conversations that we're having, Pete, when we occasionally meet at other festivals or at this festival or sit on this, not this stage, but another stage last year, because we also showed your last feature, The True Beauty of Being Bitten by a Tick last year. And we did talk about productions and how to raise money or how to make films with just very small budgets. And we did talk about film families. And I would love to chat about that with all of you and maybe start with you, Pete, because we usually have at least one film or maybe even two that you are sort of like a part of in a lot of different roles. Like this time you're the director, very often you're the editor or the DOP, so you take on a lot of different roles. You always work with a crowd that you kind of know really well. So maybe we can chat about that a little bit.
Yeah, I hadn't heard the term poor cinema. Me and some friends have been pitching the term broke wave, which I think sounds cool.
I like that. Yeah.
And then another friend described it as mutual aid filmmaking. And it is this thing of being happy to create, being like okay to create just with the resources that you have available. And my big thing is making with your friends. The reason I make movies is because it was fun to make videos with my friends when I was 15 years old. And I'm basically I'm chasing two feelings in life. One, making videos with my friends when I was 15, and two, being 8 years old, waking up on Christmas morning. Those are my two favorite feelings, and whenever I can try to feel those, I want to feel them again. And what ends up happening is each person on the crew is doing a lot, like wearing many, many hats, and that's the fun of it. When I was 15, there wasn't hierarchy, there weren't like assigned roles. Everyone's taking turns holding the camera, taking turns doing the different quote-unquote jobs, but really just making the movie, getting all of our hands are dirty, it's all handmade, all of our hands are in the mix, creating this thing. And just like very much embracing that, pretty much ignoring the traditional system of how to make things. I didn't go to film school, so there was nothing I needed to unlearn. And what that just means is it's like really open and really collaborative. So I direct my movies, I shoot my movies, I do a lot of things. And then I also do some things on other friends' movies, and they also do some things on mine. And it's just sort of this constant like trading of services almost. But then we're also sort of within our little community of makers, we're all collectively getting better at it too. And so in that way, it sort of is always feeding into the same goal of making a movie because that's what we like to do.
I have to ask the question. You've been asked this question 1,000 times, but I just love the story behind it. It's like, how do you get Charli XCX to act in your movie? And the story behind it is just too good. So the Munich audiences needs to hear this story as well.
So none of I don't do anything traditionally with just like how, I guess aside from using a camera. But the way the actors end up in my movies is not through auditions, it's not through a casting director, it's really always just this kind of conversation with the universe where the actors, the people that are now orbiting me, that I'm having some sort of good feeling about intuitively and excited to make something with, like they become my close collaborators to make the film. It always starts with a location. I sort of like set a location, I set dates and a location before I know who's gonna be in it or what it's gonna be about. And then invariably, the universe will present potential people. So after already deciding that I was going to make a movie in Warsaw, because I was living there at the time, not knowing what it was going to be about, I was then visiting New York City. I was hanging out with one of my best friends, Jeremy O'Harris, who also acts in the movies, who I've also been making movies with. And we were at a bar in his neighborhood at 3 o'clock in the morning. And Charli XCX walked into that bar at 3 o'clock in the morning, as she does. She and Jeremy know each other well enough for Jeremy to go over to her and bring her over to our table. And Jeremy's one of my best friends. He's also one of my best cheerleaders. And so to Charli, he's like, this is Pete. We just made this movie last year. He's really nice. He's really cool. He has this really interesting process for how he makes movies. And that piqued her interest. And she said, what's your process? So I described this thing about being 15 years old and making movies just for fun with your friends with really low stakes. And all that clearly appealed to her because when I finished describing it, she said, I want to do one. And without missing a beat, I said, you can do one. And I said, what are you doing in August? She said, nothing. And I said, do you want to come to Warsaw? She said, I could come to Warsaw. This was 3 days before the 360 video came out. This was pre-Brat. I was in the right place at the right time. An hour later, we're all finishing our night. We're going home. She says, "I'm gonna look you up, see if you're real, and if you are, I'll send you a DM." And the next morning, I woke up and she was following me, and I did a DM that said it was good to meet. And right away, I just started engaging with her about making a movie. I said, I was thinking about your character, and do you think your character should be like Charli XCX, or should it be something different? And she said, I think it should be really against type, and I should be a character who's kind of shy. And then just from that moment, the ball's already rolling, and 3 months later, we were in Warsaw in the middle of Brat Summer shooting a movie.
Well, that's how things go. I love that story so much. So,
and as much as like I always just want to go to bed, it's like you do sometimes have to stay out because stuff can happen.
Charli XCX might walk through.
You never know.
Go to bars, I would say. That's at least the take that we take away from this. Well, Emily, our story kind of happened like that, right? We went to dinner in Los Angeles with your producers.
Yeah.
because we showed their first feature at our festival a couple of years ago as a world premiere, and then they were like, oh, you have to meet Emily, she's shooting her debut feature, it's gonna be great, let's have dinner. So we did, and now you sit here and you trusted us with the international premiere of your film. Emily, you're also an actress, and this is your first feature. How was that transition for you?
It was really special. Just to kind of backtrack and talk about Film Family for a second. So Pablo and Sofia, who were the directors that produced my movie, but directed a film that was here, I acted in their movie, and my other producer, Jolene, produced that movie. So it was very much like this insular thing, and Sophia helped us with wardrobe, and Pablo AD'd, and we all wore a million hats. She is also like a dead body in the film, and there's lots of fun. They are the people that I really enjoy making films with. And I think part of that history was really instrumental because I do act in the film as well. And so it was really nice to have that shorthand where every night before the next day, Sophia and I would go over essentially my director notes for the actors and for all the department heads because she was on monitor. I think it just it was just, I don't know, I say that my favorite thing is walking and talking with people, and I think the really great thing about being a director is you're just constantly, people are just constantly coming up to you, and you get to chat about something that you care deeply about, and be like, well, I was thinking this, what do you think? And it becomes this, this super special collaborative conversation that just keeps going. And it was incredible. And a lot of the other actors are people I've been grateful to work with over the years. And so it felt like a continuing conversation. So even though my role was different on this one, it didn't feel completely strange. It felt very organic and natural and like an extension. It also was a film that before we were actually on set, a few years before we had started improvising and filming scenes. So the person who plays my best friend in the movie, Ryan, we filmed some stuff at her place, we filmed some stuff at my place, and that kind of helped create the outline that eventually became the script that became what the movie is now. And so over the course of years, it just, it felt like once we were on set, it had already kind of we had laid all the groundwork, so it was really special.
And how hard was it to navigate between the different roles? Because you're also the main actress in the film, and then you directed it. So how hard was it to jump between directing yourself and everyone else, and then actually acting in it?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, for this, it was really special because the good news is that I have a lot of time. Beforehand, I could do a lot of prep with people, and a lot of the things that I had to ask of someone were asking of myself. We didn't have 6 days of filming, but we had 15 days with a lot of company moves and a lot of moving parts and things. And so there were things that I could ask myself that I didn't necessarily want to ask someone else to do, and things that in the editing process, there's a lot of social media and videos, and it was really fun because I can ask myself to do anything. My editor and I, we were like, okay, what if this video actually was this instead? And then I'd go home. And so it created a lot of discovery throughout each part of the process. And then, on set, it was a lot of communicating with department heads and producers and people in advance, and then showing up early so that I could take time as an actor, so that I could access the things I needed to access that day. And then running behind monitor, even if there wasn't time to watch playback, to talk to our scriptie and talk to my producers and be like, okay, wait, what's happening? What do we need? Okay, great, awesome, cool, we can move on. But making sure that there was sort of a separation between me on set versus me behind the camera, so that it wasn't just coming out of character and giving notes to actors in a way that feels judgmental rather than playful and creative. So
amazing, thank you. Applause. Ramzi, I would love to hear a little more about your role and how sort of Hot Water came about. And is it also a bit of a family, film family type of sort of like filmmaking that you do? Because you already told us that you also took on quite a few roles in the process. You didn't just direct it, but you wrote it and the score. So tell us a little more.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing people speak to similar experiences on working with, return collaborators, film family. Not dissimilarly, the producers of Hot Water, who truly made it all possible and vouched for it to be approached in this sort of almost to embark on this scary, fun ride. Max Walker Silverman and Jesse Hope had worked on other films based in Colorado, where I am not from and where I do not live. And I wrote the music for Max's debut feature, A Love Song. I also was on set during COVID, driving what we called the snack van, keeping people hydrated, and like getting wasps out of the porta potty. It was the most fun film job I ever had to date. And then I co-edited his second feature, Rebuilding, that starred Josh O'Connor and Megan Fahey, which was also shot in Colorado on the ground, and was a very fun, incredibly illuminating experience, bringing in the footage and cutting it together and sitting with Max and showing them footage and them being able to sort of craft this thing while we were on the ground in the Alamosa Valley. And then these two experiences, Max, for also for more context, was my roommate in New York City. And he and Jesse grew up in the mountains of Colorado in Telluride, a very remote, beautiful mountain town. And so they're very used to making films kind of in the hardest way possible, where all the rental houses are far away and where the closest red light is like a couple hours away from where they live. And so they told me, they said, Ramzi, this, and I also wrote this movie during the pandemic, stuck in New York City, and based on travels I took across the United States. I grew up in Beirut. My parents live in Lebanon and Beirut, and I moved to the U.S. As an adult and did my undergrad, and then I traveled across the United States and saw these places that were really life-changing. Just the mountains, the cities, the deserts, the hot springs. And I wrote this script, stuck in an apartment, sort of imagining how fun it would be to get 5 or 6 people in a van and shoot this thing. And Max and Jesse told me, Ramzi, you got to shoot this on the road. We have to do this actually on the road. And their experiences on A Love Song and Rebuilding, kind of opposite to an approach of Broke Wave or Poor Cinema or Mutual Aid, was they really encouraged me to. And they did such a great job getting all of this financing together so that we could have a full crew. We were still very lean, but to have a full crew, and me having only made films in a very guerrilla DIY way, where I shot, edited, kind of like neurotically, maybe bludgeoned the things to death that I was working on personally. I had to learn to kind of like let go and let department heads do their thing. And it was a really scary and lovely thing to get to do as a director. And it also just speaks to something, I think, there's this kind of like fork in the road. I feel like you don't have to choose, but it's an interesting moment in the United States now where on my next project, for instance, I really am lobbying, and these are art patrons and independent financiers who put money into your movie, maybe hoping they can get a return back, and often they don't. And if they don't, they still are proud to have shared this work of art with the world that you got to do. But I am kind of taking a political stance, and I might be wrong along this journey, but I really would love to be able to get paid a living wage to write, to direct, to and where sort of like housing, food, and culture is a human right and not some sort of privilege that you get to do if you're wealthy enough, or if you're just like dedicated or scrappy enough, which is a beautiful thing. And I don't know, I live in New York City, which is a very expensive place. I'd like to have a family, and I'd like to be able to trust that people can help me make my film better than I could make it alone. That's my personal position right now. So I just say that as I embark on a second movie, and I'm trying to get support to make it. And if I can't, it is a beautiful thing to know that this is an art form that can be done with friends with 12 megapixel lenses, and that there really is nothing stopping us. But it's just interesting to sit here on a stage in Munich, and I don't know, a lot of things are swimming in my head.
You can always react to each other as well if you feel like it. So I definitely want to invite you all to interact as well, but I wanted to give Ed the chance to also add to that. And I wanted to ask you, so are John Goodman and Bryan Cranston and the entire gang also a part of the film family now? Or tell us a little bit about like how you shot Chili Finger and how it came all about.
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination of film family and you know, entrepreneurial ambition. I mean, I sympathize a lot. You know, so Stephen Helstad, you know, my filmmaking partner, he and I have known each other for over 15 years, and we've worked together as a filmmaking tandem for over a decade. And we made an independent feature together about a decade ago called Superior. That was very, what was your term? I want to start to integrate that.
Broke wave?
Broke wave. It was very broke wave. It was very much written for the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where my family is from, with access to locations that we had access to, and you know, working with a very small team, and it was a ton of fun. But then coming away from that was this like, well, no, this is my career, this is my profession. And I had a great professor when I was at the University of Southern California who instilled in us that we have the power to be the architects of the industry we want to work in. And for me, you know, my wife, for instance, she is a union member set dresser. And so I wanted to work with my wife on this movie. And so in order for that to happen, you know, we had to be a union production. And any of you that sit up here know that the instant you make your movie a tier 0 and then jump to tier 1, now your movie costs millions of dollars. And we went through what is a very familiar independent development cycle that is, well, you need money to attract talent, and then you need talent to attract money. And so it was about a 5-year development process for us. John was one of the first people to put his name on it, and then we did get a casting director involved. You know, Judy Greer, you know, in reaching out to her, we sent her a box that was made to look like papier-mâché chili with a finger, and then we put the script on top of it, and we had it couriered to her house, and we made this very personal appeal to get her to do our movie. And so all to say is that, like, you know, this was very much us and me and Stephen wanting so badly for this to be our profession. And for the people that we worked with, not only to be creatively stimulated, but for them to also be given the dignity of a paycheck and to know that everybody on this set is able to pay their rent. And that took a lot of patience. And fortunately, we were able to cultivate an incredible family of people that, you know, we've worked with for a decade, but also new people. Department heads like Chris Spellman, our production designer, who is a veteran of working with the Coens and Paul Thomas Anderson and bringing such incredible experience to the project. And Christina Dunlap, our DP, who shot American Fiction and is now an Academy member. You know, we really had a great script on our hands. We had great actors. And my personal ethos that I live with always is that no matter how long it takes you to make a movie, it's always shorter than the life that movie lives afterwards. And so we only had one opportunity to make Chili Finger, and we wanted to assemble the best possible team to execute it. And the good news is those people continue to enjoy it. John, asked yesterday what the Germans thought. And I tell you, apparently y'all like John Goodman, so that's great. So it's fun to continue to, and hopefully make more projects with them.
Let's continue that conversation a little more, because I was so thrilled when I heard that your film actually will have German distribution. I'm looking at the first row right here. Vuelta is bringing it to German cinemas. Big applause. Yeah. But you touched upon so many things that also kind of frustrate me in a way. Because years ago, US American cinema would very regularly get distribution in Germany and would head to the theaters. And now it's less and less almost every single year. So I wanted to, Pete, your film just had distribution in quite a few European countries, not Germany. But you just hit theaters in France, for example. You went to Paris, right? So tell us a little bit about the journey of ERUPCJA and the distribution in different countries. How was it for you to sort of head to the different countries, to festivals, but also follow up on the cinema release of it?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of sort of pulling back the curtain, revealing the wizard to just be an old man. And as I do things, I'm mostly just trying to learn about it and see if I can figure out these things. I definitely don't have distribution figured out. When I got Charlie XCX in the movie and then we shot it and then I edited it together and it wasn't completely terrible, I thought, am I about to get rich? And then I didn't. And I was like, what? I could have sworn this should have been my golden ticket. And I think the sad reality, not even the sad reality, just the reality of reality is that it's really complex and there's many different moving parts that sort of dictate what things make it out into the world. We haven't had an international sales agent. They're trying to sell it to each individual territory. There are things where you could get a world deal from certain companies that are big enough, but then you're actually dealing with some big corporation that are evil. So do you want to do that? And ultimately, the questions I feel that really do and are coming up and should be coming up about cinema and film in relation to what we are trying to talk about, which is are we a commodity that is part of exists within the market in a sustainable way, or are we an art that needs patrons to exist? And that's a thing that we are exploring and trying to understand what the balance is of it. Show business. It sort of was sustainable in a way. It is for some. I'm not sure it's healthy. I have all these hot takes inside that I am always trying to not say, but I'm no, I'm going to say them.
Give us a few of them. Give us a few of them.
Which I'm going to dive into the obsession pool and let the trolls come for me. But it is some sort of success that we could celebrate. But in the same way, I do not think we should have billionaires. I don't think a movie should make $400 million. I think it should be capped, and all the profit beyond that should be fed into a film fund for other people to make things, for other things to be made. All that money on top is not going to the people who even made it. It's going...
Yeah.
It's going to the corporations, essentially.
So I don't know. I know it's some anarchic energy, but
My hot take. Sorry, I have a hot take. And I think any film we could say $20 million and over, $1 million per 20 million has to go to indie, other indie films. If you have, because it's this chicken and the egg situation where it's okay, so you need talent to get that, but you need connection, you need all of these things, and it's we need people to take risks, and right now, at every step, whether it's distribution or initial financing or getting cast attached, people are afraid to take these risks, and so it's how do you kind of build that in some way? Yeah.
I love that take.
Can I
then
also, yeah. No,
just kind of, because it was sort of this question about distribution and these other things again, it's so complex and stuff, but it's who in Germany wants to see my movie? Maybe nobody does, and that's okay. Like, everything isn't for everyone, and sort of like, if we haven't made it so big that it needs to be seen by the whole world, then it can be for that like specific community, that specific region, who even wants it, you know?
But to be honest, I disagree, because I heard quite a few people walk out of your film after the film and after the Q&A, and they loved it. And very often I feel like, you know, it's all about taking chances, and we promote that as a festival as well. It's like we're a festival of discoveries. We want people to watch films and be surprised and experience something that they didn't know that they were in for, you know? And it's all about getting there again, not going for the obvious, not going for what we already know. And that's, I feel like, what you and your art and your films all stand for. But Skinner, you wanted to add something to the conversation, and Ramzi as well, right?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, thank you for speaking to this. I think there's also it's a strange phenomenon I'm seeing in the United States with film production, independent filmmaking, where producers, financiers, the sort of the owning class is actually requiring or asking that U.S. films also have European co-production attached to the movie as a requisite for it to get made, or as a minimum guarantee for a international star who can then sell abroad, whereby you're seeing European public tax money subsidizing profit-based and dysfunctional American film production. It's basically just minimizing the risk for the owning class in the United States to necessarily not pay filmmakers enough to make the films to then mitigate the risk. And it's a mechanism that is not going to survive, I'm afraid. So it's, I think, on it is just our responsibility as civic participants to just vote and elect and actively get more progressive candidates in office, which you're seeing happen now increasingly. And if we spend far more money on war than anything, and we're seeing the sort of fruits of that. So, which is just complete and utter, and it's just implosion. It's destruction. But it's funny to me how you see American film companies out of Hollywood say, we're going to need this much to make this movie, and you're going to need this much of public European money siphoned into our pockets to make this movie. And I feel like that's a crazy, it's just a funny sort of like,
it's interesting how the ecosystem kind of changed, and how the ecosystem became more global in a way, because shooting in Europe is just way less expensive than in the US, but it's also like destroying the entire ecosystem. But Skinner, you wanted to add something as well, right?
I was going to say something about distribution. I have a lot of thoughts, but the first film I made got distribution. We sold it at Slam Dance, and they had been around for 27 years in New York City. Art Matin Films, and they wanted to do the theatrical release, which we did. We were in theaters for like 7 months, and then we kind of made our way around the world. But I remember having lots of conversations with the owners of that company, and they were having trouble getting theater partners to take any of their films that they had, and they've known these theaters for decades, because the theaters were afraid that they couldn't get people to come out to watch the movie, and so. I remember they had to like stop giving out minimum guarantees because they weren't even sure they can get their films. And I mean, they had a film that grossed, I want to say, $2 million in the 90s, like an indie film, just from doing theatrical. And now it was like, maybe this film will make $5,000 after a 6-month run, and then we'll hopefully get some awards, And so they're struggling to hang on, and a lot of American indie distributors are dying. And so like everything else, capitalism kind of destroys everything in its wake. And so you have all these distributors that are now massive corporations who don't care about indie cinema. They care about making a profit, right? And so we have these, I call it AI-brained individuals, like forget AI, these people have been thinking like AI for a long time in terms of the movies they select and the films that they want to make, because they're just trying to make a profit. And we've lost, like when I was a kid in the 80s, every year, the American government, this American state government, if they had to slash funding, what went first? Art and music. Like all the programs, gone. Living in the South, you had no support because they don't think it's important. And it's a deep reflection of where we're at as Americans. But continually, even now, like when my kids are in school, if they got to slash funding, it's always the art that goes first.
It does happen here as well. That's the scary part of it. I wanted to give the audience a chance to maybe ask a couple of questions. There is one right here in the middle. We do have a microphone. You're going to get it in 1 second.
5, 6, okay. Pete, I love you. Skinner, I love you. I've worked with you both. And the thing, pardon my language, you both don't give a fuck, or so it seems, right? And first of all, I love the way in which both of you work. I haven't worked with the three of you yet. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
I give a lot of fucks. I'm sorry.
It's all good. If you're a fuck giver, you're a fuck giver. It's great. Cousin Emily Robinson, nice to meet you. But my question for both of you is, in the kind of collaborative way that you both work, and I've been firsthand on that and working with you both, it's collaborative. You ask for a lot of input, you give input, and then you're just like, go. The thing that I want to know about is, when it comes to money, does that, like funding for your films, you all both don't take the traditional route. You say, I'm going to do it, and you just do it. What keeps, you both have very poignant, strong work. What keeps you motivated to continue to go, even though you know that the funding may be enough, it also may not be enough? What still keeps you going, and does that influence how you then create?
That's a big one.
Yeah, and okay, so I'm barely, like I am hardly going on this journey. Luckily for me, there's a lot of other things that I want to do in life, and that I do. And so, but making films is something that I fight. Like, I don't know if I want to keep making films. You know what I'm saying? I have a band. We're about to release a record. We're gonna go on tour. That's been something I've been in bands for a long time, and I took a 15-year hiatus from that. And so we got the band back together, and so now we're actually gonna do that. I have 2 children that keep me very busy. My son is 13, my daughter is 8. I am trying to get my golf game back to scratch. So I live on a golf course, and I play golf a lot with my children as well. I write novels. I want to write more novels. Film was something I came to as an actor. I was an actor for a long time. So the initial motivation was to write movies for myself to star in. I don't really care about acting anymore. So now I'm trying to find that motivation. Really, the motivation is like, what can I do with my children? So my son has been in all my films, and my daughter's starting to make her way. But after a while, there's just other things I want to do. So I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep making films, and that's just where I'm at now. And that's all I'll say.
My motivation to make movies is that it keeps the void back. Keeps me here on Earth, basically. But because I believe the meaning of life is human connection, and filmmaking is a really direct shot of that, of creatively collaborating with other humans, ideally people I like, practicing empathy through storytelling. It just provides so many great memories and experiences that then also conveniently get documented with a camera that allows me to relive them.
That is actually a beautiful ending to this chat. I could chat with you all forever, but unfortunately, time always flies when the conversation is best. I want to say thank you to the audiences to be here. I think you will be sticking around for a little bit around this area, so maybe we can continue the conversation outside. Thank you all for being here, for sharing your beautiful films, your thoughts, your ideas. Thank you so much for being here. Go to the movies. Recommend all of those films. They're going to be shown again here. And thanks for joining us.
Vielen Dank.
Thank you.